Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of the podcast, the Mahabharata Chronicles. Before we begin, let me introduce myself first. I am Shilpa Gattani. I was born and brought up in Udaipur. At home, I am mother of two teenagers, and on work front, I have been a finance professional for over 2 decades. Until recently, I was head of treasury for a leading financial services company. We all love a good story. So, let's talk about stories today. Stories are also the way to understand life lessons without making it like a gyan. And stories also have better retention in memory. We all remember slow and steady wins the race because of the story of rabbit and tortoise, isn't it? The world is filled with stories. But today, I wish to start with talking about the most captivating story of all time, the Mahabharata. What makes it striking for younger generation is that in Mahabharata, where everything looked like happening as per God's will or destiny, each character had an option. Each character had that one pivotal moment where he could have chosen better or different, and the outcomes would have been totally changed and maybe less destructive too. And nobody was spared, not even God. He was also held responsible for the choices he made. The way Mahabharata highlights the significant role of choices in shaping our future is mind blowing. It is the book I believe all youngsters should read, and not as a religious text or scripture, but more like a guide to understand life in general. Mahabharata is like life lessons weaved in a super fascinating story. Why I am making this podcast? Because of my daughters. Both my daughters read a lot, especially Greek mythology. One day, just like that, during a casual discussion, I asked them about names of 5 Pandavas. And to my utter disappointment, they didn't know. In fact, they knew about Athena and Poseidon, but they didn't know who wrote Mahabharata. This motivated me to make this podcast. It is an attempt to present the Mahabharata in a simple form for youngsters. So let me share a bit of basic information about it first. The Mahabharata was written by sage Vedvyas. There is no specific timeline as to when it was written, but broadly over 3000 years ago. Mahabharata is an epic, meaning it's a long poem with over 1 lakh couplets and around 18 lakh words, which is humongous. And let me give you some reference to its vastness. It is roughly 4 times the size of Ramayana, and since I mentioned Greek mythology, it is around 7 times the size of Odyssey and Iliad put together. It was originally written in Sanskrit. Why Mahabharata was called Mahabharata? Most probably because it is based on the lives of descendants of King Bharat. King Bharat is the same Bharat on whose name our mystical subcontinent, our country, is named Bharat. So, what is Mahabharata about? Simply putting, it is a story of clash between two families, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, for a piece of land. Isn't it remarkable that even 3000 years ago, the same pride, envy, anger, greed, lust, and attachment drove human conduct? Which basically means that we might have progressed as humans, but not in humanness. And that also makes Mahabharata a very relevant read for any generation. Because though written thousands of years ago, the way it portrays the webs of ambition, rivalry, righteousness, and destinies with an overarch of philosophy and moral dilemmas it would resonate with everybody. And the best part, the Bhagavad Gita, the most revered philosophical discourse, is part of this narrative. It's awe-inspiring. In just 18 chapters, Bhagavad Gita captures the entire essence of human existence. While, rationally speaking, Mahabharata could be just a story composed by Rishi Vyas. But if we are a believer, we cannot call it mythology. Because then we are saying that Bhagavad Gita was just an imagination of the author and not God's words. And it beats me to fathom that who else other than God Himself can impart such deep wisdom on how to navigate moral and ethical dilemmas in life. If we believe the Bhagavad Gita to be God's guidance, then we have to believe that Mahabharata is a narration of actual events and not a legend. Another interesting thing about this book is that every time you would read it, depending on your age and experience of life and your current circumstances, it offers new and different insights and perspectives. It is like in the pages of Mahabharata, the past comes alive and it makes you ponder over two fundamental questions. Is there anything absolutely right or wrong? What makes anything good or bad? Is good or bad contextual? And secondly, a very, very pertinent question about significance of karma. Whether it is destiny that shape our choices, or is it our choices shape our destiny? What do you believe? Amazingly though, Mahabharata does not give you any ready-made answers. It just offers insights and guidance. It tells you how to think instead of what to think. Among all the lessons that you can draw from this great epic, I would like to mention two of them, as they are important to practice on a day-to-day life. Earlier in the life, the better. Karmanye vadhikaraste ma faleshu kadachana ma karma fal hetur burma te sangotsva karmani. Meaning, you have the right to work only, but never to its fruits. Let not the fruits of action be your motive, nor let your attachment be the cause of inaction. In simple words, it says we should focus on doing our work with dedication without thinking about personal gain or fear of failure. And if you think about it in practical sense, too much focus on the outcome distracts us from putting our best efforts in what we do. It makes us stressed and anxious. You would have noticed the moment we think of outcome, we also think of the uncertainty around it. The what if clouds our mind, which anyway is counterproductive, isn't it? And how much ever we may wish, our own action is all we can control. So best is to excel in that. Rest anyway, everything is beyond our control. Yukta har viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukhaha. Meaning, yoga, the destroyer of sorrows, is attainable to a man who is moderate in eating, recreation, sleep, wakefulness, and who is restrained in action. In simple terms, it just says moderation is key to well-being. Too much of anything is bad. Ati sarvatra varjayet. Be it rest or work, eat or play, study or entertainment. Anything in excess will cause some sort of pain. The idea is to strike a balance in what we do in a day-to-day life. And here I must mention, if you have heard about Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher, he offers a very interesting way of putting it. According to him, good and bad are not opposites at all. And I'm not saying we were taught wrong in nursery, but he has a point. He says good is mean or average that stands between two bads or two extremes, bad of excess and bad of deficiency. For example, courage is mean of recklessness and cowardice. Doesn't it change the way we look at right and wrong? In fact, practicing moderation was so important for ancient Greeks that they put an inscription, nothing in excess, on a stone at the entry of Temple of Apollo as a reminder. Pretty amazing practical tips to follow in everyday life. And practicing these two should be like Kaizen, making small but incremental changes in positive direction, or breaking the goal in small achievable milestones so that it becomes achievable. Putting a full chapati in mouth is uncomfortable, but when we break it into pieces and eat, it is not. Correct? Finally, be it timeless debate of fate versus free will, or we being just a part of some grand cosmic purpose, the story of Mahabharata time and again emphasizes importance of individual action. Isn't it both empowering and overwhelming to realize that in the end, whatever happens in life, it can be linked back to the choices we make? It is certainly both a huge power and a big responsibility. In the end, be it a tale, mythology, legend, or history, whatever you may call it, and I am not an expert. But one thing I can say with surety is that Mahabharata is undoubtedly a compelling read for all age groups. So here I am, inviting you all to join me in this journey and let's together explore the pages of Mahabharata. Thank you.